Monsoon and starfall effects cannot be changed. If I add custom effects, any custom effect, it will not change. The spell will use the default ones. Please fix this, Blizzard. When a user requests a change to the game systems, how do we know if this is a feature request or a bug report? This monsoon and starfall bug is filed as a bug. But is the user Navy, with one post, actually asking for a new feature and improved ability functions? Why is this filed as a bug? If you are a Blizzard or Playside Studios employee asking yourself this same question, then please allow me to enlighten you. My computer has many versions of Warcraft III that run in parallel, so for today I will start out using a version of the Frozen Throne from 2009. I obtained this version of the game from my personal backups of my computer from the year 2009, because I have been continuously keeping Warcraft III on my computer for the last 14 years since then. It is said that Blizzard Entertainment does not directly support the World Editor, so I will try not to bore you with technical details that you feel are not your job. However, please allow me to use the World Editor as a means to discuss the current state of the game code itself. Let us begin in the Ability Editor, using only simple concepts. Here I will copy the ability Starfall to make a custom Starfall-based skill. I will name my new skill My Starfall so that we can differentiate it from the normal Starfall ability. Notice how the Starfall ability has a setting called Stats, Buff. Suppose we change this ability stat and create a custom buff for the Starfall, so that My Starfall will put a different status effect on the enemy units. After copying the Starfall target buff, I double-click on the Art target to change what 3D model asset will be applied to units hit by My Starfall. In this case, we can choose to use the Blizzard 3D asset from the Archmage skill, so that enemy units will have ice fall onto them instead of stars falling onto them. Here, I press the OK button after choosing the 3D asset that I wish to use. We should also change the name of this copy of the buff Starfall target to be named My Starfall target. If we look back to the ability that will use this buff for a moment, suppose that we also change another ability field to demonstrate the basic functions of this editor program. In this case, I am going to make My Starfall ability require the player to build a Night Elf Moon Well and also a Night Elf Hunter's Hall. It is also key that we change the stats buff used by our ability so that it applies the new My Starfall target status condition to enemy units instead, as we intended. The last thing we want to do here in the unit editor for our test is simple: to copy the Night Elf Priestess of the Moon hero who normally has the Starfall ability and make a copy of the hero that has the My Starfall skill instead. Now that we have completed editing the data for our custom Starfall, we should put our custom version of the Priestess of the Moon hero into the map. I set her level to 10 and set My Starfall to be unlocked by default, so that the hero will start the game with the skill to help us test. We can put some basic knolls for our hero to fight using the My Starfall skill to help test it. We also want to place some wisps so that the player can build the Moonwell and the Hunter's Hall in the game to unlock our custom ability. As we can see here, in the game, everything is working properly. Our custom Starfall skill requires Moonwell and Hunter's Hall to cast. Suppose that we grab some wisps and try to build these structures to unlock our custom skill. This may take some time because the Hunter's Hall also requires the Tree of Life in order to build.
Trust me.
Job's done.
When the Moonwell is completed, the Hunter's Hall requirement for our skill is still missing, so our custom Starfall skill remains unavailable for now. When we unlock the second requirement for My Starfall, the ability is now available to cast. Let's go use it on the Knolls.
Leading the way. Onward!
Everything is working exactly as intended, in the sensible way based on the unit editor. Our Starfall skill now is almost more of an Icefall because it is using the Blizzard effect from the Archmage. That's cool. But what if we play the exact same Warcraft III map file on Reforged? The default behavior of Reforged since the day of its release has been to delete Warcraft III from user computers and replace it, so we would expect it to play the same map file, only better, right? Let's take a look.
We must act. Onward!
The custom Starfall skill claims to require the Moonwell and the Hunter's Hall. So far, so good. But what happens when we build them?
I'm vigilant.
Watch carefully.
Job's done.
I do not have a Hunter's Hall, but the skill unlocked anyway.
As I thought.
Now what happens if we use this
Goddess
skill against the Gnolls?
Onward! Leading the way.
Where is the Archmage Ice? Why doesn't my custom skill honor its editor art settings, and why does it unlock when the requirements are not met? The answer is that Reforged is broken. Even if we try to recreate this map in Reforged Map Editor instead of loading a legacy map directly, the problem is the game itself. Interactions between types of objects in Reforged are, at times, randomly broken, and there is not really a way for the user to fix them in such a simple system because the problem is the game itself. For as long as Reforged continues to have random things broken by violations of the "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" rule, there will always be users who become frustrated because they try to use the map editor and realize that the game itself is broken by comparison to the original Frozen Throne game from 2003, where editor components were simple and straightforward and fully working, like having objects require other objects or have modifiable model file paths. The bugs highlighted in this video so far have been broken for more than 3 years. We knew that they are broken. There are long, community-made lists of things that Reforged broke, and these are only a few that I am repeating again today for my own entertainment because some new user on the forums, yet again, is reporting these issues. But the fascinating mistake on the part of Activision Blizzard back in 2019 was to release a pre-patch to the Frozen Throne that contained the improved Reforged modding APIs and ran on the Reforged engine, but did not include the bugs shown here. We call this patch 1.31, and it gives an extraordinary incentive to the custom games community to bootleg this game and make their own servers. Your people did this. Was it intentional? Perhaps we could look at the problem from another angle. What are you going to do about the bugs in this video if you stop to consider them at all? What? Would you play a sick game of whack-a-mole where you file a JIRA ticket for both the tech tree requirements issue and the Starfall art issue shown in this video, each independently? Suppose there are 20 or 30 other tickets in your system about random other issues that appear to have almost no affiliation. Are you really a demotivated corporate drone who cannot connect the dots? Where did these issues all come from all of a sudden between the last patch of Frozen Throne and the first patches of Reforged in 2019? No, I think it is quite possible that there is a prime issue. A decision made on the Reforged side of the code that was simply not good for engine stability. And more years of whack-a-mole instead of questioning the decisions of the prime issue could go on for another 3 years. But what is the prime issue? Where did it happen? Can someone point me to a git commit hash where a developer told cAbilityStarfall.cpp to stop loading custom art data, or told tech tree requirements to generally only apply the first requirement? No. On the outside, we do not have your code and we do not have that information, but I can speculate to all heck and back. I speculate that these Reforged bugs and countless others were probably caused by the skin system, added in a hurry in 2019 to 2020 by the Reforged team. Skins themselves are not a problem. Sure, sell microtransactions and profit off of us. Everyone needs an income. I'm not speculating about your financial decisions here. I am referring to a technical problem. The technical problem is this. What is a unit? Reforged introduces the idea that a Death Knight or a Demon Hunter can be female instead, as shown in my video here. But let us think about the technology for a moment. When I double-click on either one of these two Death Knights, both of them are selected. They are the same type of unit, a Death Knight, and yet they have different artwork. Rather than achieving this concept using existing Warcraft III systems, Reforged reprogrammed the concept of unit to accommodate this functionality. Prior to Reforged, if a custom map had incorporated a similar functionality, the map developer would have copied the Death Knight and created a new type of unit, the female Death Knight. And this other type of unit would have been separately available in the map editor. But on Reforged, to place a female Death Knight into the world, instead we double-click on a normal Death Knight and click on the skin button, and then choose the female Death Knight skin. On a fundamental level, this same system has split the way the unit looks up type information into two pieces, where one lookup is for the unit behaviors and the other lookup is for the unit appearances. I could just as soon make this Death Knight be an Altar of Elders instead of a female. Of course, an Altar of Elders Death Knight does not make any sense humanly. But we can see that if I play the game with this configuration, even though I did not edit unit data in the data editors at all, I can obtain a bizarre-looking character with the visual properties of Altar of Elders and the functional properties of Death Knight simply by using this skin setting. On a fundamental level, the concept of unit is one with two types. If I were to speculate, in the code there is probably a class or a struct that defines what a unit is, and among its other properties it probably has a type ID and a skin type ID. From my perspective, where the skin system went wrong is that while it was being developed, it was applied to almost everything in the game that had some notion of type, instead of being applied only to units where it makes sense for selling the skins in the versus mode. As an example, here I can place a summer tree, which is a component that has existed in the data since the Reign of Chaos in 2002, or I can place a winter tree, which has also existed since back then. But now, on Reforged, I can place a summer tree that has the skin of the winter tree. Why? What is the point of this? Non-unit destructible objects, as it turns out, are not the most egregious misapplication of this system to everything in the game. Under the scenario drop-down in the map options, there is a setting called Use Custom Ability Skin that was added in Reforged. But originally during Reforged Beta, when the skin system was developed, this option did not exist. The game engine was changed into a state where it was as if this Use Custom Ability Skin setting was always enabled by default. And it did terrible things to anyone who tried to use the map editor for anything, and basically broke almost all 20 years of custom maps that did anything besides play a standard versus game with unmodified units. So when the custom games community cried foul and said that Reforged broke literally everything, the developers added back this setting and supposedly turned it off by default to get a little closer to the Frozen Throne idea that every object has one type. For the sake of example, suppose that I turn this setting on so we can see and describe what it does. With the setting on, I will edit the standard Paladin hero so that he has the Entangling Roots skill instead of the Holy Light skill. Then we can try to play the game. Normally, when the game is trying to emulate sane behaviors like how Warcraft III had been for 16 years from 2003 until 2019, the change that I have made would cause the Paladin hero to have the power of the Keeper of the Grove to entangle another unit. But instead, because of this skin system, he has a bizarre mashup of the abilities in a glitched way that shows the icon of Holy Light when learning the skill, the tooltip of Entangling Roots when learning the skill. Then after being learned, it goes back to the tooltip of Holy Light, and then when casting it on an enemy, it shows some Holy Light art, and then hits the unit with the Entangling Roots behavior. Is it Holy Light or Entangling Roots? It turns out that if I open the unit data file included with the oldest version of Warcraft III ever known to the public, from February 2002, and then if I scroll all the way over to the far right-hand side of the table that defines what each unit is, back then the concept for a unit was to be an object with 4 built-in ability definitions. The mana cost of each of the 4 abilities were 4 values on the unit that help to define what that unit is. This concept is very alien to the way that Warcraft III fans ended up considering the game to function. As a user, if I give the entangling roots to the paladin, then he should have the power to act as a keeper of the grove and to entangle a unit likewise. If Reforged was going to add in some concept of abilities having a skin, as a user, the way that would feel like it makes more sense would have been for the definition of what entangling roots is, as a concept, to include a skin within that definition. Instead, we get some primordial code soup that is probably influenced by the 2002 Legacy Code, so that the Paladin has 2 ability lists where one of them is for the appearance and one of them is for the behavior. And then we just have this hack, the Use Custom Ability Skin Turn-Off flag, hurriedly put in on Reforged, to try to fix everything by telling this questionable new design to just copy the behavior list into the appearance list on each unit, or something. It is not even necessary to use custom games to demonstrate the stupid consequences of this issue. To see the stupid consequences of this new design in action, we can simply launch Reforged and play a standard versus match. Get the hero Tinker from the tavern, and then level him to 10. As an example of the kind of stupid Jira ticket whack-a-mole that's been undertaken by multiple people at Blizzard on Reforged, we have here an example of an attempted workaround stupidly written to specifically try to fix the engineering upgrade ability instead of fixing the root cause issue. Watch carefully now as I learn the Robo-Goblin ability, activate it to gain the Demolish ability, level up the engineering upgrade skill causing Demolish to show 3 times damage, then deactivate and activate the Robo-Goblin ability again, and see that now the Demolish is only showing 2 times damage. Do you see how stupid this is? A programmer was asked to try to fix the specific case bug of engineering upgrade being broken by the ability skin, so the programmer wrote a piece of spaghetti code to specifically change the skin ID of the Demolish ability when the engineering upgrade ability is gained or leveled up. But when Robo-Goblin causes the hero to lose and regain the Demolish ability, the skin ID of the newly regained ability is set back to the default one. If you play the Frozen Throne with the Reforged modding APIs, but without the stupid skin system from 2019, you do not have this problem. There are not 2 types per ability, so they cannot go insane and become out of sync. On that version, when Demolish does 3 times damage, it will always say that it does 3 times damage. So, why are we even having this discussion? Why were Starfall, engineering upgrade, the idea of objects requiring other objects in a tech tree, and so many other fundamental game systems broken? What was the original programming refactor undertaken in 2019 meant to even accomplish? Although it is pure speculation, my best guess is this: legendary skins from League of Legends. If the future were to be selling skins for my Death Knight, it is conceivable that a skin might sell better if it changed not only the 3D asset loaded for my guy, but also the icons and spell effects associated with his abilities. For example, here is a silly-looking Death Knight with a bunch of extra glowing streamers attached to him, whose Death Coil ability is the same and has the same behavior, but with its ability skin set to use some flashy yellow version of the art. But if this speculation is correct, then one of the fundamental reasons that our entire game system is teetering on the brink of breaking apart is an effort to monetize something that isn't currently being monetized. So, if anyone doing upgrades or making decisions on Reforged ever sees this video, I would ask that you please consider to either monetize us and use this system for what it was made so that we at least know why it has to be this way, or else please revert the system so that only units can have skins and other parts of the game do not even have a system like that at all. I hope that someday, someone will link this video to someone who links it to someone else who gets them thinking, until the game itself can be fixed to avoid insane bug cases, not by opening more and more Jira tickets and wasting a comedically large amount of engineer time simply to eliminate innumerable regressions by their symptoms, but by fixing the primary cause of the problem to begin with. Thank you.